Welcome to the bold analysis, ladies and gentlemen. I am back to a conversation that I promised you I will not leave anytime soon. And this is just calling for consistency on crisis communication, or even if you're running a propaganda, you need to be consistent. Now, 22nd of July, I did an analysis. This video is seeing here. This was the article that some 4 senior officials were being hunted down by the security officers because they were being linked to the current anti-governance, anti-bad governance protests that have been going on. We've been, I've seen a challenge from someone saying that we don't have anti-government protest. The protests that have been happening have been anti-bad governance. And I concur. That is it. And so, this article, some of the people that were being sought here were members of Uhuru Kenyatta family that were close to the former president Uhuru Kenyatta. In fact, they were saying, I don't know, a brother or someone, a relative, and people that served in that government. So I analyzed it, and it was also another hot air story. Because since it was published, nothing had been effected in terms of any arrest that has been reported to have been done. So that was on 22nd of July. And I wanted to look at this pattern. Today, that was by nation. Today, the Star, which is a government aligned, which got a deal to air got a deal to advertise on behalf of government every Tuesday, and is been believed to be very friendly to the government, also is unleashing any story, exclusively a story here that police raided the official offices of the 3 assistants to the Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua in connection to the anti-government protests. Now, because this story is very sensitive, just allow me to read verbatim what this article has been said, because this is also another exclusive story. 3 senior aides of the Deputy President, Rigathi Gachagua, were on Tuesday grilled over ongoing probe seeking to establish those who could have financed the anti-government protests. And I told you, in this podcast, we'll talk about anti-bad governance. It's not anti-government. That's what, and I think I took the challenge. Police visited the offices of officials in Karen, Nairobi, for their statements in a session that took hours. Also grilled were 2 MPs from Nairobi. This comes even as detectives attached to the DCI are investigating the violent protests and looting of businesses in Nairobi and parts of central Kenya. Police said they expect to record statements from more politicians, including former governor, over the chaos. The individuals had been summoned by the DCI headquarters for grilling on separate instances. Police claim individuals organized goons who raided shops and other premises to loot as Gen Z staged protests in the city. Now, government is looking for allegedly people who raided shops, people who raided shops and other premises during Gen Z protest. That's why those politicians are being, those officials are being, the residence is being raided. But the same government cannot think about over 50 innocent protesters who were killed during the anti-government protest. But you're looking for someone who looted a shop. But a goon or a security officer who shot innocent protester, no one is looking for them. I think we would be seeking, the same way we are seeking people who sponsor demos, we will also be looking for security officers who maybe breached the law. The story will really have its fair share of balance. They have denied the claims, and aides included advisors to the politician. Police handling the case said that there was scanty evidence linking individuals for now, but they want to get more information on the alleged role of the individuals that played in the chaos. Teams handling the probe have been relying on intelligence, which they argued was not actionable for now. For instance, there have been reports a politician paid goons to raid premises and loot and blame the same on protesters. Kenya. Police are rushing against time to ensure. No, I will even stop reading that. Doesn't add any value. Now, that is what that article is saying. Police are looking for those who paid goons to go and break into shops so that it can be blamed on protesters. And that is what they're looking for. And that is why the 3 has been interdicted for it. I want to explain this. There is something in this pattern. There is something, a very consistent pattern here that I want us to look at, because both the stories, the vector is pointing at Mount Kenya. The other one, it was Uhuru Kenyatta. This one, Rigathi Gachagua and his aides. I don't know whether it is choreographed that way, or it is just a coincidence, or what exactly is it? Because if you read that article, if there is no actionable intelligence linking individuals, but the story is already splashed, Rigathi Gachagua aides, the story is going out under the name of Rigathi Gachagua. If these people don't have actionable intelligence, then can they act in the individual capacity if they're not acting on behalf of the deputy president? But because they're aides to the DP, that has to come out. Now, I still don't buy it. We can be going to the aides of the DP while there is a video that was circulated and the number plate of the car was seen, captured live on camera, where individuals actually came out. The individuals, someone was dishing money in town and paid fuel to border to go and stage protests in town, protesting against other protesters. And that man was seen giving money from his car. The number plate of the car was captured, but that person has never been driven to the DCI to record a statement. But then you're chasing some hot air figures around. You know, sometimes I think the government acts in a way that they portray lack of seriousness. You pick that trending person, that video was trending. Pick and interrogate. There was even no statement from the investigative agency explaining that we are investigating that instance. Even if you are not, you should have said we are even investigating. There was no statement. But now this one has really come out to look at who paid who to break into the shops. It's also good to know the goons. But even if you know the goons, it's also fair enough. As you get justice to business people who lost their stuff, it also be fair to get justice to parents who lost their kids, whose kids were shot by either some goons or security officers that breached the law. Now, there is a lot of, and I'm saying, this consistent attempt has been going on, and Rigathi has been a marked man. Listen to a reaction by Atuoli after Rigathi clashed with the intelligence boss.
Ni lazima sisi tupige frimbi, tumwambie bwana DP, you are offside. Government must speak in one voice. If somebody is here who can reach the deputy president, amwambie let him act foolish, na support his president for the total unity this country requires. We don't want to have 2 national press conferences. President amesema hii, deputy anaenda kusema yake. Whom do we believe? We want only one person to talk. So somebody should advise Gachagua, he was a dio, he was a disri, ni mtu alifundishwa in the then Kenya Institute of Administration, ambao watu wanaelewa the code of conduct in the system. Pahali watu wanaelewa the command ya serikali vile inavyotembea, na wakiwa na shida they solve in boardrooms. Since in the trade union you will never hear us in the papers or people calling different press conferences to attack one another, because we need that unity like yesterday. We need that unity in the system, we need that unity in government, and the person who can cultivate and assist his principal leader is the deputy president. The time is not yet. Atauliza kura 2027 if he so wishes, and we look at his record. If he's qualified, Kenyans will vote for him. But ajue Gen Z might come up with their own candidate. So he must also be careful. This is his opportunity. He should not throw away this opportunity. They must work unitedly and attract and show the Gen Z that they are in command, and the young people will respect them and they will finish their term. We don't want to hear two different stories ambazo na tena ile mtu ana attack Haji. I was on the panel ile ilimchakua DPP. I was on that panel. I represented workers on that panel of appointing Haji. Hii mtoto ya Haji ambaye sasa ni Director General of National Intelligence Service. Huyu kijana amesoma sana. Nilishangaa huyu kusema he was a junior officer. That time he was Deputy Director General kwa yule nanina alistaafu. Yule Deputy, yule Director General wa NSIS ambaye alistaafu juzi Ruto akikuja kuchukua usuka. He was not a junior boy in that department. This boy is experienced. Na yeye anaangalia sisi zote. Haangalii yeye peke yake. Unaweza kuwa kwa serikali na kumbe uko nje ya serikali. Na Gachagua might be in the government and yet is outside government and he doesn't know. Ni lazima sisi tupige firimbi, tumwambie bwana DP you are offside. Wakati wa demonstrations, most of workers that I represent could not access their places of work, and even those in the government. So we want the DP amsaidie his principal to bring this country to order. Anasema yeye ni bwana wa pasta. Naomba mama muombee sana. Amweke kwa maombi. Ile Waluya wanaita machomeshe. Maombi yenyewe kweli mpaka arudi kwa njia.
So this, and if you check in the internet, it's been going on for some time to Brenda Tully as someone who's an outsider, regarded as someone who's an outsider. But in his response, he said, and I think after the government appointed those fellows, the Raila fellows to government, he came out in an unusual manner. His reaction was showing the fact that he doesn't have a problem with it. As to whether that is reverse psychology or not, it's a different ballgame altogether. But you may also agree with me that there have been protests going on in Karatina. And someone may wonder, because Karatina is Rigathi Gachagua's place in Nyeri, someone may wonder why Karatina of all the Mount Kenya regions. So we need to figure out everything can be happened. Everything can happen to choreograph, because before the protest, remember Ruto had a fallout with his deputy. And we kept on warning that if this fallout is not really handled, it might get its way to the ballot in 2027. But just a week after that, it came out. Now, some other conflicting reports emerged that, do you know Inspector General Japhet Koome, whom we were told and the president announced had resigned voluntarily, did not appear in the police headquarters for the official handing over to the new IG. So I wonder what's happening with that office, because even the last IG, when he was leaving, Mutiambai, he left in unceremonial manner. Never came back, never appeared, in fact, has never been seen after that. The same to the DCI, Kinoti. When he left in a very unceremonial manner. Now, Japhet Koome, who is also the IG, also left in a very unceremonial manner. And it's understood that the 25th protest, the 25th June protest, had some internal sabotage, and that's why you see some fellows are being looked in here and there. Now, what I want to interpret is this. As to whether this, because this has not been confirmed, no one has linked Rigathi Gachagua to funding demos. But the stream of speculative stories that are emerging, there is an attempt to tell the country that Mount Kenya, if it's not Uhuru, it is Rigathi, who are fueling the protest. Now, I kept on saying there is some inconsistency. They flip-flopped. The Ford Foundation, what they tried, but they realized that one, it's untouchable. So they came back to the other option A, plan A, which was Rigathi Uhuru. So on 22nd, it was Rigathi Uhuru, now it's Rigathi, and that's why they stormed the residents looking for the aids. Interpretation of this stories, or the interpretation of this Rigathi Uhuru narrative with the protest is what I want to narrow down to explain. There is an attempt to create, of course, it's thriving in understanding. Kenya Kwanza believe there is anarchy, people planned anarchy. So, the cry in the minds of Kenyans now is cry for justice for those who are killed. Cry for justice. And Nation did a story last night on 50 bodies that are still lying in City Mortuary unclaimed, and most of those bodies were taken there on 25th June, the day there was anti-government protests. So I would want us to listen to that story, and I've decided to share it with one where Ruto is saying, those who know those who are killed bring to him, and he was denying the brutality. Now, so you understand, the second phase, or rather, after the protests have gone, and what has been happening, the discussion that the country has been having is about how people were killed, the justice for the brutality. So because no one, I think, no one wants to take police or the goons accountable for their actions, we've decided to try to link individuals. That probably is the card being played, is the card at play, because you've not arrested a single police officer who shot person X or Y. I was just telling you in my previous video about the story of Franklin Ondwari, the Nairobi University student whose body was found, lifeless body was found decomposing in unused pit latrine somewhere in Ngumo Estate. A very sad turn of event. After he was in a police cell, then he was released, allegedly released, pointed somewhere in Kirinyaga, then from there family got lost radar, family and friends lost radar of where he was. So police brutality is also something that is keen, and that is why the parents of whose kids have died across the country would be made to believe that someone sponsored the demos, or maybe even the kids were paying, that's why the kids went to the street, so they should blame so and so. That would be number one. The second thing here is, I think it's a panic strategy ahead of the August protest. There is one I've just been looking, and I don't want to share the poster. I will look at it in some time, of Nane Nane. And the issue about Nane Nane is very scary. If you look at what they are planning, is very scary. And that is why I'm saying this arrest, or rather this interrogation of Rigathi aides, to me, I choose to delink it with the past protest, because it has taken them 1 month to investigate and think of arresting person X or Y to link it with it. That period is a bit long. It is about the future. It's about what's coming. And it's supposed to show, you know, that Nane Nane one, I've seen protests being organized for Nane Nane, the march to State House, Nane Nane one. It is akin. It's only supposed to show something here. That the panic strategy, the government is some sort of a panic and will want to arrest and link that to what's coming in future. Number two, this is a trap being set for Rigathi Gachagua, and I will want to explain this keenly. There is a ground for some impeachment. There is some story about impeachment that I had analyzed in my previous video. What do you expect when Rigathi sees that headline and the next minute there is a microphone in front of him in Mulima? They expect Rigathi to rant. They expect Rigathi to rage. Then if Rigathi will rage, then a narrative can be extracted that the guilty is the one talking. So I appreciate his silence in all this discussion. And I think even that with Uhuru Kenyatta. The strategy of him keeping off, seeing these stories but never fails to respond. That is the best strategy, because if he responds, he'll be told, if you're not guilty, then why are you ranting? That will be number one. So the trap is if Rigathi overreacts, because he's also a man who overreacts. If Rigathi overreacts, the spillover of his reaction will be attack on the president. And then attack of the president will form a fresh basis for the impeachment. That will be it. That will be the first, the twofold. The trap is on twofold. That will be the first angle to it. The second angle to it is to try to convince the members of the public that Rigathi Gachagua is against government, or even UDA loyalists, plus even people in Mount Kenya, that Rigathi is against government. So that if an impeachment motion is tabled, then probably they will try to get an inch of public appeal. I say no. In fact, I'm afraid that if they go that direction, the Gen Z might actually side with the Rigathi. Not because they like Rigathi, but because they don't like Ruto. The other third aspect I'm seeing is to profile Mount Kenya as the sphere of influence of these protests. But I wonder, I saw people protesting in Mombasa. Rigathi doesn't have influence, even good network in Mombasa. I saw people protesting in Kisumu and in Migori. Could the funding extend to Kisumu and Migori? I saw people protesting in Narok. Could the funding extend? Emali in Ukambani. Could the funding, if the funding is the fuel? In fact, I think it's a wrong understanding to say, to rebrand the protest as not issue-based, but fueling the financial, rather the funding as the cause of the protest. The funding could not be the trigger. The trigger is about the issue. So that's why when I look at it, I wish we move from these headlines, because President Ruto, when Kinoti used to come up with headlines against the DP by then, Ruto used to cry out and say, you know, this DCI is the DCI of the media. Is the DCI who just runs to media and rants about this and that without prior investigation. So I wish we can also act that instead of these flashy headlines about Rigathi's aides or 4 men and Uhuru Kenyatta family, instead of we come off those headlines and effect arrest and prosecution. With that, the public will buy in. But just one headline today, then tomorrow, things to normal, Ruto and Rigathi just there, flying out there, doing their things. The public, and that's why it turns out as mere political propaganda. So ladies and gentlemen, that is my take. But I really want to read your feedback on this new narrative of dragging Mount Kenya as the sphere of influence on matters of these protests. Thank you.